to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and yet again, another Philadelphia Union draw as they draw 1-1 against the Columbus Crew on Saturday night. Back to our regular scheduled program of giving you guys review episodes after coming back from vacation, and shout out to Jose and Kyle Almany for joining me for the match review episode for the LAFC match last Sunday. And I know I told you guys that, yeah, we'll go ahead and do an episode review for Dallas, and then maybe we'll go and do a preview episode for Columbus. And obviously that never happened. And I thought about it, and a couple people DM me and said, man, you're on vacation, just enjoy yourself. So I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Let's not record any more podcasts that were down here. And so that's what we did. So I think it's excused, right? And it feels good to get back and talk about a game, actually be able to watch a game and have stable internet. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to get that podcast recorded last Sunday with Jose and Kyle. And those guys are always a blast to talk with and just share different opinions, thoughts from matches. But I do have to give a shout out to somebody else. And this was so crazy too. When we were recording that episode on Sunday, the house that I was staying at, my family and I, in South Carolina, the next door neighbor came outside because, like I told you guys, I was recording that podcast outside because there was like no place inside to record that podcast without an echo. So I said, you know what? The best place to go is outside. Let's hope the outside noise isn't too much of a distraction. And so before we actually recorded that podcast, the neighbor comes out on his deck. Shout out to Adam. And he said, are you recording a podcast? And I'm like, yeah, actually I am. And so I was telling him about the podcast, and believe it or not, him and his family, they're from the area. They are Philadelphia Union fans. And I could not believe that. I mean, talk about a small world. Like, this isn't your fan saying, oh, yeah, I know the Philadelphia Union. Like, Adam knew they played in Chester. They've been to multiple Union games. And I was blown away. Like, I'm not going to lie, Kyle and Jose don't know this, but when I was on the podcast with them, like, my whole brain was thinking about that interaction I had before we recorded. I was like, what are the odds that I run into a Philadelphia Union fan on vacation? But then you take it a step further, and the house we're staying at, the next door neighbor, is a Philadelphia Union fan. Like, you cannot make that stuff up. So I want to give a shout out to Adam, and the Philadelphia Union fandom is strong. I mean, I feel like you can find a Union fan in every single state. And so I look forward to, maybe I'll go on one more away trip this season, depending on how the playoffs shake out. And I'm sure I'll see, if I go, a lot of Union fans on the road, because Union fans, they travel well. And then the coaches convention in January. Hope to see some Union fans out there in Anaheim. So yeah, just Union Nation, super strong. But we'll go ahead and talk about the Columbus Crew game, get my thoughts, play some sound bites from that match, go ahead and talk about 3 stars, Blunder of the week. And before we do all that, got to give a shout out to FC Cincinnati for winning the Supporters Shield after they came from behind and beat Toronto. Well deserved for Cincinnati, Chris Albright, Pat Noonan, Kyle McCarthy, all those ex-Philadelphia Union players. By far the best team in the regular season in MLS, FC Cincinnati were. And we'll see. Will that translate to playoff success? Will FC Cincinnati go all the way and lift MLS Cup too? I know Pat Noonan today at his press conference was saying that he believes the Supporters Shield's greater than MLS Cup. And part of that, I feel like, is Pat saying that because they just won the Supporters Shield. But I do get it, right? Because the Supporters Shield indicates which team was the best throughout the regular season. But then the argument for the Supporters Shield is you're not playing every single team in the league. So it's a little bit skewed. You're beating up on everybody in the Eastern Conference, that's for sure. But you're not playing every team in the Western Conference. And as Union fans, you want to go ahead and talk about the Union winning the Supporters Shield in 2020, but then people throw the asterisk up there because you only played 23 games during the regular season. I do believe if COVID hadn't hit and a 34-game regular season had taken place, then the Union still would have won the Supporters Shield. Yes, I know Toronto was 3 points behind, 144 points. The Union that season finished with 47. But the Union were undefeated at Subaru Park. They only had 4 losses on the season. Looked good in the bubble. And so, yes, they stacked up a ton of wins in the bubble in Orlando. But the Union were super special in 2020. And, the success continued. And so we'll see this season. Come playoff time, will the Union be able to replicate what they did in the playoffs? Will they be able to get back to MLS Cup? I don't believe so. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I mentioned, 1-1 draw against Columbus. And this game was truly the Andre Blake show Saturday night. Andre had 8 saves total, 5 just in the first half. And I know some people outside of Philadelphia and other fandoms across the league look at clean sheets and say, oh, well, you're not a good goalkeeper because you only have X amount of clean sheets. Andre Blake only has 7. But clean sheets is not a fair way to judge a goalkeeper. Keeping clean sheets is a defensive effort. It's not just on the goalkeeper. And so clean sheets doesn't matter a whole lot. It's not fair to judge them. Yes, people want to talk about, oh, well, this player had X amount of clean sheets and now he wins the Golden Glove because of that. You got to look at stats that matter, like save percentage. Andre Blake has saved 73% of the shots that he's seen this season, which is the 6th best in MLS. Or look at PSXG minus goals allowed, which is simply how many goals is the goalkeeper saving that should be goals. Andre Blake has the 4th highest PSXG. 2 really huge stats. Saving goals, that's the job of the goalkeeper. And Andre Blake continues to be one of the best in MLS at that, despite him only having 7 clean sheets. And when the defense has allowed 37 goals, and I know that's still the 5th fewest in MLS, averages out a little bit over a goal a game that the Union are giving up, you're going to want Andre Blake to continue to play like he did Saturday night in Columbus for the rest of the season in the playoffs. The Union are going to need Andre Blake on his A game. Because we saw Andre Blake not taking goal kicks in this game, and that makes you start to worry a little bit. Jim Curtin said after the game, they just wanted to be safe with Andre and not have any issues with his groin. And so imagine if the Union are in the playoffs without Andre Blake. How confident are you guys with Joe Bendick as your goalie? With looking at how many goals a game the Union's defense gives up, how many shots a game that the Union's defense are giving up. This isn't the same defense. We all know that. I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast about uncharacteristic errors by Jacob Glesnes, Jack Elliott, Damian Lowe, Olivier Bizo. We talk about it all the time in the goal breakdown videos when the Union give up goals. There's a lot of mistakes this team is making that they weren't making last season. And again, I don't want to keep repeating myself about what happened last year. We all know last year was historic. The Union probably will never hit those numbers again. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think as fans, as media members, we have to come back down to reality and accept that this is what the Union are. They're going to concede goals. They're not going to keep clean sheets all the time. They're going to give up shots. Now, granted, when you look at it, the Union have only given up 353 shots this season, which is in the top 10 fewest in MLS. So the defense makes you earn your shots. But going back to the PSXG goals minus number, Andre's in the top 4 for that, saving more goals than what your average goalkeeper would. So this defense is giving up shots, and Andre Blake is bailing them out, like we saw Saturday night. Now, imagine that's Joe Bendik in the goal. You guys aren't feeling confident in the playoffs with Joe Bendik in there? Not at all. And so the Union are going to need Andre Blake to be at his best the rest of the season in the playoffs if they want any chance to be in those games. And when you see the lineup that the Union put out, right away, there's going to be questions saying, oh, the Union are just packing it in. The Union are going to play super defensive. Because Columbus are going to create a lot of chances. They're going to have a ton of shots. That's just what they do. But you hope the Union don't concede first. And credit to the Union for actually doing just that. They scored the first goal. And I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. And again, where credit's due, I will give it. The Union did a good job surviving the first 15 minutes of this match. And then you see the Union ask for a handball after a corner kick. Jack Elliott kicks the ball, goes off of a Columbus player's hand. Potentially, the referee says no penalty. You then have the chance in the 23rd minute with Jack Elliott once again. Ale Bedoya wins the initial header off of a Kai Wagner corner. And Jack Elliott has to put that shot on target. And so after the first 15 minutes, where Rossi probably should have scored in the first 2 minutes of this game, and then Columbus continues to create chances, the Union have chances of their own. And then after that, the last 15 minutes of the half, it's all Columbus. And I don't want to say the Union are lucky going into the half tied 0-0, because that was the best case scenario for them. So that way, you get into the half. You can decide, do we bring it on front three, which they did. Can we get a goal? And now may Columbus come out and chase. And now that plays into what the Union do best, counterattacking. And the Union do get that first goal. A perfect opportunity to get Nate Harriel's first goal in the regular season. A header off of a set piece. And that was the Union's 7th set piece goal in MLS, tied for the 8th most in the league. And for Columbus, that was their 10th set piece goal given up, tied for the 4th most in MLS. And so that was always going to be key in this game. Take advantage of set piece opportunities, which the Union had plenty of. And you see, as the second half goes on, the Union continue to grow into this game. Daniel Gazdag has a shot. And then you see the huge miss in the 66th, 67th minute by Mikel Uhre, where Julian Kranze gets taken out. And it was 100% Dogzo, Amundsen. But because the referee allowed play on, the advantage, because Mikel Uhre was able to run on to the loose ball, it's only a yellow card now. And it's a huge missed opportunity by Mikel. He's got to put that one in the back of the net, because then you're up 2-0. Or the one play that maybe gets overlooked, I talked about Daniel Gazdag having a chance. It's a simple long ball up top by Jack Elliott. Union win the header. Ball deflects off of a Columbus player. And then Daniel Gazdag easily gets by his defender. He looks for the pass to Mikal Ua, but it's listed as a shot because Steve Moreira blocks it. But the Union could have taken advantage right there in the 55th minute and then had this game 2-0. And now Columbus really needs to start pushing. But yeah, that miss by Mikal Ua, that's a huge miss. And I don't fault the referee for playing advantage because it's what he should have done. The goalkeeper wasn't going to get to the ball. The closest player to the ball was Mikal Ua. And Schulte did nothing to throw Mikal Ua off. He held his line, held his ground, and Mikal hits the post. He's got to put that on target. He's got to put that in the back of the net. You're 1-on-1 against the goalkeeper. And it's a huge missed opportunity. And you just felt that one was probably going to come back and bite the Union in the butt. Because 5-6 minutes later, Columbus get the penalty kick. And I know Jim Curtin saying after the game, complaining about the referee performance, saying, the crowd really influenced the referee, where he initially points it's a free kick for the Union, and then he changes his mind and gives the foul to Columbus. And I also broke down this play in the goals breakdown video, youtube.com/freekickpod. And after slowing down the video, watching it, I do think the referee got his decision correct. Jack Elliott fouls Cucho. He takes out his right foot, the one that Cucho is using to trap the ball. Jack Elliott gets there before he gets the ball. It's 100% a foul. Good call by the referee. And then the handball, the chicken arm, it's a penalty. Jack Elliott jumps, makes his body bigger with extending his arm out. And so I have no problem with the referee's decision right there. Do I have a problem with the non-call early in the first half? No, not really, because I think that would have been harsh to give that penalty there. Do I have an issue with the Bedoya call where Jim Curtin thinks that Bedoya is inside the box? The referees say, yes, it is a foul, but it's outside the box. I think they actually get that one correct as well. Because if we want to talk about refereeing performances, we can talk about what happened in the Liverpool versus Tottenham game over the weekend, which should very well be Blunder of the Week, but it's not. It was up there for a contender. But I feel like every single week we can complain about the refereeing in the Premier League, how they don't know how to use VAR, how the refereeing in that league is atrocious. You pride yourself on being the number one league in the world, but time and time again, you continue to miss calls. And so I don't think the refereeing in MLS is as bad as what we're seeing in the Premier League. And I don't agree with Jim Curtin that the refereeing was bad Saturday night in Columbus. Maybe you guys do, but no, I do think the referee called a good game. I think he had a good control on the whole match. And at the end of the day, a 1-1 result was probably fair. Yes, the Union had chances in this game. They created a ton of chances. They couldn't finish. And that's been an issue as well this season. Not finishing your chances. But without Andre Blake, the Union are losing this game. And they're losing this game early in the first half. 11 shots total for the Union, only 2 on target. You're not going to win many games when you only have 2 shots on target. 9 on target for Columbus Crew out of their 23 shots. So, at the end of the day, I'm not mad with this result. I think 1-1's the correct decision. Now, maybe where you have the issue is Kai Wagner getting a yellow card in this match, which now means that he misses the game against Atlanta this Wednesday. It's going to be a big loss for the Union, right? But what are Jim Curtin's thoughts? How do you prepare for Atlanta without having Kai? What are your thoughts on Kai Wagner's season so far?
The only positive is it gets him some built-in rest, But at the same time, we're much better with him on the field. He's been one of our best players all season. Again, some of the balls he played tonight, not only on the corner kick, but the ball he plays in the first half to Bedoya, where Ali's almost in, a couple through balls to Quinn and Chris. The tackles that he makes in open space, we've leaned on him for basically 45 games this year, and he's answered the call every time. Unfortunately, he'll miss a big one against Atlanta, but this group knows that the next guy has to step up, and that's the way our mentality has been all season. That will continue to be the case. But yeah, can't say enough about the season that Kai's had. He actually sets up a lot of our chances and is one of our best attackers from a deeper position. I think he likes playing as a wing back too, because he's a little closer. But yeah, great game from him. Unfortunate to get the yellow card, but he was one of the many people that were yelling about the call that led to the free kick that led to the handball.
And it's no secret that the Union are going to miss Kai Wagner Wednesday night. But it's interesting, right? Hearing Jim Curtin talking about Kai Wagner's one of our best players, a player that's creating some of our biggest chances, creating the most chances for us. And the way I took that, and maybe I'm reading into this a little bit too much, but that sounds like Jim Curtin's telling the front office to pay Kai Wagner. We are not the Philadelphia Union without Kai Wagner. If you lose Kai Wagner, you are losing a big part of our offense. And Kai Wagner, I've talked about it the last couple of weeks. He has got better and better as the season has went on defensively. And that's a major credit to Kai. We all know how good he is offensively. And you heard Jim Curtin say it. He's one of our best attackers. Creates a ton of chances. Big chances created in MLS. Kai Wagner. 12. How many players in the top 10 are defenders? Only Julian Gressel, Barvial, and Kai Wagner. The rest are attacking players. And so when you have a defensive player in Kai Wagner that is creating 12 big chances, 7 assists as a fullback, that is a big player to replace. Key passes, 58. Barvial, the only defender in the top 10 that's not Kai Wagner in key passes. Everybody else is attacking. You lose so much when Kai Wagner is not on the field. And so that comment I take from Jim Curtin is 100%. We need to pay Kai Wagner. We need to do whatever we can to keep Kai at the club. He's expressed that he will stay in Philadelphia. You pay him. He's fine staying in Philadelphia. Pay him. And so it's going to be a big challenge Wednesday night, not having Kai Wagner on the left side of the field for the Union. I would imagine Matt Real is going to get the call, but we've seen Nate Harriel play as a left back, so maybe that's what Jim goes with. Continues to play Olivier on the right, play Nate on the left. I would not do that personally. I'd like to see Matt Real there. But we'll see what happens. Kai Wagner, fantastic in this game. Spoiler alert, in my top 3 for best players on the night. Huge game from him defensively, offensively. And because I didn't even do a match review episode for Dallas, I mean, what about that pass that Kai had to Quinn Sullivan for the goal against Dallas? I mean, that is a world-class pass. To place that ball perfectly to Quinn when you have 2 defenders on him. You cannot have played a better ball. And you let Kai Wagner walk. Who on this team replaces that? Who on this team can do what Kai Wagner does? Jack McGlynn? That's it? But you could potentially lose Jack McGlynn in the winter as well, if you get an offer big enough. So, we'll see what happens Wednesday night with no Kai Wagner, we'll see. Do you guys think that that was Jim Curtin telling the front office, do whatever you can to keep Kai Wagner here because we need him? Like I said, maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, but I do think I do think Jim Curtin's telling the front office we need Kai Wagner. And you're hearing them talking about it on the broadcast more and more ever since Jose got that quote from Kai Wagner saying that, yeah, this is probably my last season in MLS. And people are asking, how can you let a player like Kai Wagner go? It's what you guys are asking too. How can you allow a player like that to leave on a free? Situation never should have got this far. So we'll see what happens with this whole situation. But want to play that quote, see what you guys thought from that soundbite, and let me know on social media. Is that Jim Curtin sending a message to the front office? One thing that may be a concern, I don't know if you guys are as concerned about it as I am. Yes, the Union created chances this game. Yes, shots on target. I mean, we don't have to talk about that. It's an issue. It's been an issue all season long. Is not being the most efficient team in front of goal. But the Union went off sides for the 80th time Saturday night, most in MLS. And so for a team that struggles to hit shots on target week in, week out, a team that struggles to create chances at times, the last thing you want is players going off sides. So we saw Julian Kranzer score a goal, we thought, ruled off sides in this game. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. It's something that maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I think that just proves that the timing's off between everybody on this team. Talked about it before with Mikel Ua. He makes runs. His teammates don't see the runs. His teammates play the ball. Mikel's not ready for the ball. Julian Kranza goes off a ton, 24 times, I believe, in MLS, which leads the Union. Only one other player in MLS goes off more than him. Benteke, I want to say, 31 times. 33 times I'm looking at. 24 times Julian Kranza's been offside. So, yeah, I mean, I think that offsides does tell a pretty big story, and that talks about the connection that this team has. That last season they were hitting on all cylinders, and I hate always coming back to what the Union did last year. But it's a little bit of a concern for me. Last year they only went off sides 57 times. It was around middle of the pack in MLS. At 80 already, should tell you that the connection's off between the front three and the rest of the team. So that's probably my only concern from this game. And then the last time about our play, Jim Curtin was asked, what's been the difference in these last 5 games that you guys have earned draws?
Good opponents. I think at this point of the year, it's ramped up quite a bit, right? So if you go Cincinnati, who just won the Supporter Shield, congrats to those guys. LAFC, right? It's a good Dallas team that is in around the line. If you look at all the data and metrics, they're a good team. That's the one we should have won. If you go by expected goals, we deserve that one. And then tonight, that's a good Columbus team too. So I think it's just quality of opponent. We'll also have now difficult opponents in Atlanta and in Nashville and New England that want points too. So there's no easy games in this league. The East is at an all-time, high in terms of the point total in that middle part. So it's going to be hard. So tonight is a big point. I know that's, 5 ties in a row, which I hate hearing the sound of that. But if you go big picture in our last 10, we've lost 1 game. So we're hard to beat, and that matters in this league.
And so I'm glad Jim Curtin ended in the last 10 games, only 1 loss. It's a good thing, but I'm curious. I mean, Is it concerning to you guys that during these 5 straight draws, the Union have dropped points in 3 out of 5 of those matches? That's concerning, right? They dropped points against Cincinnati. They dropped points against Columbus. And they dropped points against Dallas. Now you earn points. Against Charlotte, you're down by 2 goals. Union find a way to tie that 1-2-2. So that's good, right? You show the fight. Show that you don't give up. You don't quit. Cincinnati, you're up 2-0. You should win that game. Jim Curtin believed that the Union should have won the game against Dallas. Only watched the first half in that game. Didn't see what happened in the second half. So I couldn't tell you if the Union should have won that game or not. You guys let me know. Columbus, yes, the Union should have won that game. We talked about it. Missed opportunities. Mikael Uhre should put the ball in the back of the net. Daniel Gazza tried to cross the ball to Mikael Uhre, but Steve Moreira gets a block in. Julian Kranzer has a goal, but it's ruled off for offsides. So I do think that that's probably a little bit of a concern. The good, if you want to flip it, 6 games unbeaten. Jim Curtin said it. 1 loss in your last 10 games. So you want to be heading into the playoffs, not losing matches. Finding ways to get results on the road. Okay, that's important because you know you're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs, sitting in 4th place currently in the Eastern Conference. Can you catch Orlando City, who's won 54 points, reach 2nd place? New England have a game on hand against the Union, sitting in 3rd with 52 points. Go ahead and quickly look at New England's schedule. So on Wednesday, they have Columbus at home. Then they go on the road to Orlando City. Then they have a game against Nashville on the road. And then they finish the season against the Union at home. Not an easy stretch of games right there for New England. Want to go ahead and look at Orlando City's games, who are also in front of the Union. They have Nashville away this Wednesday. It's going to be a difficult game. Orlando City hosts New England, like we said. And then they end the season on the road in Toronto. And so, out of New England and Orlando City, you would say Orlando has the easier schedule. And so, yeah, it's going to be difficult for the Union to get in 2nd place, host Atlanta United this Wednesday, then host Nashville, and then end the season against New England. Going to be a tough one for the Union. Top 4 has got to be the priority for this club. If you can get 2nd, you're feeling really confident with yourself. But you got to make sure you stay in the top 4. You want to host as many home games as you can. Because I know, talking with some of you guys, you're not confident in this team on the road. Can't say that I blame you. But they go into Columbus and get a draw. The best attacking team in MLS. You hold them to 1 goal. You score the first goal in this match. So it's not as bad as I think some fans make it out to be, this team on the road. But we all know we would much rather see the Union play at Subaru Park. And then the last thing I'll talk about in regards to those 5 draws in a row is this team is tired, man. And Jim Curtin has mentioned it multiple times, talking about how everybody in the front office are tired. The players are tired. The coaching staff's tired. Steve Cherundolo of LAFC mentioned his team's tired after they lost to Tigres in the Cup. You had Tata Martino complain after the U.S. Open Cup loss to Houston, saying if that game went to penalties, then the technical staff would have had to have taken them because of the tiredness of the players. Andre Blake, Ali Bedoya, Jack Elliott are all coming out speaking about how they're tired. Julian Gressel is coming out speaking about, yes, he echoes this statement by Andre Blake saying that the players are tired. I mean, just this past week, you had multiple coaches in the Premier League talking about how teams play too many games. You have Erik ten Hag of Manchester United talking about how his team feels overloaded. Vincent Kompany saying that players should be capped at a certain amount of games they're able to play during a regular season. You have Pep of Manchester City saying that the only way that you're going to reduce games is the players striking. If the players refuse to play, then these leagues, these organizations are going to have to do something about it. And I do agree with him. If we want to see change, the players have to all get together all around the world and say enough's enough. You know, we're humans too. We're not robots. You know, your product is going to suffer, and you are trying to suck the most money that you can possibly suck out of each and every single one of these players, fans, sponsors as you can. The more money you make as owners, the happier you are. But your product's going to suffer. And I feel tired. I feel tired covering this team. Leagues Cup killed me. I feel like this season ended once Leagues Cup ended. But yet here we are, still playing the regular season. And playoffs isn't even here yet. I think everybody's just tired. When's it going to end? When's it going to stop? The only way that it stops is if the players speak out. If the players strike. And man, I don't feel confident in the Union in the playoffs because of that. Jim Curtin said, well, this is what we get, right? Playing Atlanta United on a Wednesday because we went far in Leagues Cup. It's punishment. That's what we get. And I'm not saying, you know, nobody forced Jim Curtin to take Leagues Cup serious. At least I'm not aware of anybody telling MLS teams to, hey, take this tournament serious. Jim Curtin and the rest of these coaches could have played their backup squads, got eliminated earlier, and, well, there's your rest. But the Union opted to go for Leagues Cup, make it all the way to the semifinals, beat Monterrey, who rotated. They said, all right, we're not taking this tournament serious anymore. We got to focus on Liga MX. We're already qualified for Champions Cup for the next season. This third place game doesn't matter to us. Nobody forced the Union. Nobody forced these MLS teams to take this tournament serious. But maybe they did. Maybe behind the scenes, maybe MLS said, hey, take these games serious. Make MLS look good. The whole world's watching. It's not. We want as many MLS teams towards that final as possible. And MLS got exactly that. 3 out of 4 teams in the Final Four. But I don't think anybody's denying that MLS is suffering because of the amount of games that have been played this season. And there's only going to be more games played next season. You want an example of how your product's suffering? Just look at the bottom half of the Eastern Conference. It should not be this close. It's pitiful. New York City, 38 points. Montreal, 37 points. DC United, 37 points. Chicago Fire, 37 points. New York Red Bulls, 34 points. 33 points for Inter Miami. Charlotte still in it as well, 33 points. The Chicago Fire should not be in the playoff hunt. They are a terrible team. They don't have a number 9 that can put the ball in the back of the net consistently. But yet they're still in the playoff hunt. The only teams that have been eliminated are Toronto and Colorado. LA Galaxy have been god-awful this season. 35 points, so they're still in it. Austin, still in it on 35 points. It's because these teams are tired, man. The playoffs should be wrapped up by now. But this is exactly what MLS wanted, right? For multiple playoff spots to be up for grabs with the last game in the season. But your product's suffering. Your product is suffering hard, MLS. Hey, they don't care, right? They're getting their money. I mean, look at this past weekend's games. It was bad. It was bad in MLS. So many draws. So many draws this week in MLS. The Union game. Vancouver, DC United. LA Galaxy, Portland. Into Miami, New York City. Houston, Dallas. Minnesota, San Jose. Nashville, Seattle. A lot of draws this weekend. It's because these teams are tired. So what changes next season? I'm not sure. Maybe nothing at all, but it's something to keep an eye out on. And I think we're going to hear more players as the final weeks come to a close. More managers talking about the amount of games, how it's not doable. And once the offseason hits, we'll see. Does something change? Does the rosters expand? Does the salary cap go up? It's definitely something to keep an eye on, but I think Pep has the right idea. The players need to get together all over the world, and they need to strike. That's the only way that a difference is going to be made. Let's go ahead and talk about 3 stars. Number 3 on the night, Kai Wagner. 1 assist, 2 chances created, 6 passes into the final third, 2 out of 3 tackles won, 1 block, 3 interceptions, 3 ball recoveries, 3 out of 5 ground duels won. What more needs to be said about Kai Wagner than what I already said earlier in this episode? Number 2 on the night, Nate Harriel. 1 goal, 3 out of 3 tackles won, 1 block, 3 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries, 4 out of 4 duels won. He's playing as a right center back in a back 3. Played excellent. One of the best Union players in the last few years on set pieces attacking them. Best jumper on the team. Has such an eye for goal. On corner kicks, on set pieces. He's a real threat. And yet, teams, time and time again, continue to leave Nate unmarked, which is fine for Union fans, for the Union players, for the coaching staff. Leave him unmarked because he is a threat. And love to see what Nate did defensively. Big moment for him. Kuchar tried to get the best of him, maybe a couple times, but as this game went on, I thought Nate really grew into that spot, and we'll see what kind of role he plays Wednesday night against Atlanta. Hopefully he gets a start because he deserves that after a game he had against Columbus. And then number 1, it's got to be Andre Blake. 8 saves, 5 in the first half, like we talked about. Kept the Union in this game. Without Andre Blake, the Union are not winning this match. And so the last segment, as always, is Blunder of the Week. And I really wanted to give Blunder of the Week to VAR and the refereeing in the Tottenham-Liverpool match this weekend. Decided not to do that because I think there's a bigger issue that involves every single one of us here in America that supports MLS. And that's the ticket prices, man. Into Miami matches. This season, to sit behind the goal in the supporter section, the cheapest ticket was $485 for the season. But for next year, that price has now risen to 884 tickets for 17 home matches in MLS next season. Comes out to be $52 per game. I mean, you're looking at ticket prices more expensive than the biggest clubs in the world. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous what Inter Miami are doing to their fans.
Yeah, not good.
Not good at all. And it's not just happening in Miami. You're seeing DC United fans complain about it. You're seeing Union fans complain about how much their tickets are costing next season. And man, I'm so over this Messi thing. Yes, inflation plays a role, but it doesn't play a big of a role that we're seeing down in Miami. Premium ticket prices will cost anywhere between $4,420 to $45,000. I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's a crazy amount of money. Because of Messi, man. Because of Messi. When's it end? Once Messi leaves the league? I mean, fans get angry at other fans for price gorging, which, I understand. But where's the outcry for what Inter Miami, what DC United, what all teams around the league are doing? And yes, there has been some on social media. But I don't think it's been enough. I think it needs to be more. And MLS and Apple, they're going to milk this Messi thing for as long as they can. And who suffers? The fans. You've been a diehard Inter Miami fan since day one, putting up through suctitude. And now, because Messi's there, now you're paying the price. Now you potentially will be canceling your tickets because you can't afford it, because Inter Miami is pricing you out. Yeah, we don't care that you've been in day one. We don't care what we've put you through since the beginning. Messi's here, and if you're not going to pay the price, then somebody else will. And then you have other MLS teams, right? Messi only comes to the game once a season, maybe. Maybe he doesn't show up for that game. Doesn't matter. These teams are still going to charge an astronomical amount of money. And the fans suffer because of it. And yes, it's bad enough that no matter where you go on Apple TV, Season Pass, where you go on the MLS website, it's all Messi, Messi, Messi. That's bad enough getting that thrown into your face. But what really pisses people off is when you start messing with their money. And it's just sad. It's sad. You're taking advantage of so many people. And like I said, I get it, right? There's going to be people that are going to refuse to pay that price, and other people are going to come on board and said, well, we'll gladly pay it just to see Messi. And yes, that will happen 100%. But how's that fair to your day oneers, pricing them out as hard as you are? And yes, I know I started this out complaining about Inter Miami because this does have a lot to do with Inter Miami because of Messi. But it's going on all around MLS, and it's a joke. It's a joke. It's how you push fans away. Is that what you really want? Is it really worth the temporary gain of all these Messi fans pushing out your day oneers? Is it worth it? And yes, maybe some of these people will come back after Messi leaves. But there are going to be some people that don't come back because you piss them off. And I don't think it's worth it. Because what's going to happen? Once Messi leaves MLS, because it is going to happen. Yes, you look at all the social media followers that Inter Miami have gained because of Messi. Yes, look at, I'm sure, the tens of thousands of people that have signed up for MLS Season Pass, all because of Messi. But once he leaves, all these people are going to leave, and what? Maybe you convince 1 or 2% of those people to stay. Maybe they become fans of MLS once Messi leaves. But majority of those people aren't staying here. And maybe the owners are saying, well, you know what? It doesn't matter to us because we're getting this guaranteed money right now, and we're going to milk it until we can't no more. And that is probably what they're going to do. But man, you're going to be pissing a lot of people off. I don't think that it's okay pushing out your day ones like these MLS teams are doing. I don't. But, I guess if I owned a MLS franchise, maybe I feel a little bit different. But that's it for this episode of the Columbus Crew review episode. We'll have a review episode out sometime on Thursday, Friday maybe. More than likely Friday. Reviewing the Atlanta United game. As always, no match preview episodes. Sucks. But that's what happens when you play multiple times a week. People get burnt out. But if you aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Be sure to rate and review. Tell me what you don't like about the podcast. Tell me what you do like about the podcast. Open to all sorts of criticism. Open to all sorts of different ideas. And, you guys have been wonderful always giving feedback, listening to the podcast, checking out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. Love putting together those goal breakdown videos. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say because, of course, we end the podcast on a negative note, talking about the price gorging Inter Miami is doing, these MLS teams are doing, about how Messi's not a good thing for MLS. And so now I'm going to send all of you guys off in a bad mood. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.